Afternoon.
Hello.
How's everybody?
Hello. Wonderful, thank you. How are you?
Let's see, we're outnumbered as usual. I can see that, Dan.
That's okay. I'm used to it.
Commissioner Moore is joining right now, so it'll even out the score a little bit.
Do what we're told, head down 3 steps behind. We got it.
Excellent.
Well, it's now 5 o'clock, so the regular session of the Planning Commission of the City of Lancaster will come to order. In response to Governor's Executive Order N29-20, this meeting will be conducted telephonically and audio streaming live on Channel 28 and the city's website. So I'll offer the invocation this evening. Shall we pray together? As we gather this evening to make Planning Commission decisions for our community, may we use our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial as we consider the merits and challenges of each matter that we consider before us. As we deliberate, guide us as to always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. In his name I pray. Amen. May I have the roll call, please, Ms. Winter?
Sure. Commissioner Tufts,
Present.
Commissioner Paris,
Present.
Commissioner Moore,
Present.
Commissioner Harvey,
Present.
Commissioner Cook,
Present.
Vice Chair Smith,
Here.
Chairman Bose.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to make one adjustment to the agenda tonight. We'll take up item 1, the approval of the minutes first, then we will hear the housing report, and then we'll hear the draft EIR comments, and then we'll take up the conditional use action item in deference to Vice Chair Smith, who has to recuse on that item. So I'm gonna have to announce this. Hang on, folks. Before we move on, email comments must be checked before any action can be taken on each agenda action item. Roll call must also be read for each commissioner to state their vote on each action item. Callers will be able to provide comments on the public hearing items once the public hearing is announced. And we ask to please do not interrupt or talk over the other speakers. So if the first action item is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 21st, 2020. Have a motion, please.
Sorry, the minutes are for December 14th, 2020.
Is that what I said? Oh, I guess if I read it right, it'd be okay, wouldn't it? Thank you for catching that. December 14th, 2020, not September.
I move that we approve the minutes of December 14th, 2020.
I
Thank
will
you.
second that.
Thank you. All right, do we have any email comments regarding this item?
We do not have any email comments.
Do we have any public comments?
I believe all of the callers are either applicants or city staff.
So far?
Yes.
Okay. So we have no one calling in on this item?
Correct.
Okay. All right, then, any further discussion from anyone? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Tufts,
Yes.
Commissioner Paris,
I'm abstaining. I was not present for this meeting.
Commissioner Moore,
Present. Yes. Present.
Commissioner Harvey, Commissioner Cook,
Abstaining. I wasn't here for that meeting.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Bose. Chairman Bose.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 to abstain.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Moore, when you get to Congress, you can vote present. You can't vote present on here. I couldn't let that pass, sorry. All right, so we'll take up item 2, the second item, which is listed as item 3 on the agenda, which is housing bills update and accessory dwelling unit state requirements. Ms. Campana?
Good evening. Okay. All right. Good evening, Chairman Vose and members of the Planning Commission. Tonight, I'll be presenting an update on the 2020 housing bills and information on accessory dwelling units in regards to state requirements and standards. So Governor Newsom signed a number of housing bills into law August of 2020. There were 6 housing bills, and out of the 6, only 3 would be applicable to the city, which are AB 1561, AB 2345, AB 1851, and the additional updates to the ADU laws. So the bills that are not applicable to the city is AB 168 and AB 831, which involves SB 35. We don't get many of those. Actually, we haven't got any applications for SB 35. So those aren't really applicable to our city. And AB 725, which involves the housing element, but it does not take effect until 2022. So the first bill is AB 1561, which extends by 18 months the life of a housing entitlement issued before and in effect on March 4th, 2020, and will expire before December 31st, 2021. Only 9 maps would qualify for this extension. The 9 maps are up on your screen. In addition, the new law also extends the time in CEQA for tribes to respond for consultation requests by an additional 30 days for a total of 60 days.
And if I could just add a quick comment to this, this means that they would get an automatic extension and those requests would be handled administratively without Planning Commission review. That's all.
Thank you.
Next slide. Okay, the next bill is AB 2345, which makes several changes to the density bonus law. The bill increases the maximum density depending on the affordability of the units to up to 50%. This bill decreases the percentage of total units that must be for lower income households to qualify for 2 or 3 incentives or concessions. So before you needed 20% of low income units, now it's down to 17. And then for 3 incentives, it was from 30, now it's down to 24%. It also decreases the parking ratio for developments with 2 to 3 bedrooms to more than, which was 2 parking spaces previously, and now it's down to 1.5 parking spaces. In addition, no parking requirements for rental senior citizen housing if all units are affordable to lower income. Next slide. AB 1851 prohibits the city from requiring the replacement of required parking spaces for a place of worship when those parking spaces are eliminated as part of a religious affiliated housing development project. So those are for new housing development projects. No more than 50% of the required parking spaces can be eliminated, and the city may only require up to 1 parking space per unit in the housing development project. So on to accessory dwelling units. Over the years, ADU law has been revised to improve its effectiveness at creating more housing units. Changes to ADU laws are effective January 1st, 2021, which further reduce barriers, better streamline approval processes, and expand capacity to accommodate the developments of ADUs and junior ADUs. The City of Lancaster allows ADUs and guest houses since 2013. However, it is out of compliance. Updates to the code would be made following the housing element update in order to comply with state regulations and grant agreements. So an ADU and a JDU is an attached or detached residential dwelling unit which provides complete independent living facilities. And there are a few variations. We have detached, attached, a converted existing space, and a junior ADU, and these units may be rented. So the first one is the conversion of an existing space to an ADU. The size is limited to the existing space and may be expanded up to 150 square feet. Garages may be converted. There are no setbacks and parking is not required. We usually see these as like converted garages or converted patio, as you see on the screen. Next is new construction of attached and detached ADUs. So there is a 4-foot side and rear yard setback. It can be a maximum of 1,200 square feet with a maximum of 16 feet in height. 1 parking space is required unless it's located within half a mile of public transit or 1 block of a car share vehicle. Next is a junior ADU. JADU has to be created out of a proposed or existing living space of a single family dwelling with a maximum size of 500 square feet. The requirements to have an exterior entry to the main living area of the residence and to provide an efficiency kitchen has been removed. Now a JADU can be combined with a detached ADU, and that was updated with the 2020 state laws. Next are multifamily. So ADUs are permitted in multifamily zones. So it can be 1 or 2 things. It can be a conversion or new construction. They can convert portions of the existing multifamily structure that are not used as livable space, such as storage rooms, garages, mechanical rooms, attics, basements, to ADUs. At least 1 ADU can be created through this method and up to 25% of the existing unit count. For example, if you have 8 units, you may be able to add up to 2 new ADUs by converting existing non-livable space. So, or another option would be new construction. You can have 2 new ground-up detached ADUs with a 16-foot height limit and a 4-foot rear and side yard setback. But a conversion and construction cannot be combined. It can either be one or the other. Other state provisions and incentives: fire sprinklers are only required if the main residence has them. The city does not charge any impact fees on ADUs, and owner occupancy is only required for JADUs. Here's a graph of our ADU entitlements. So planning has received 20 ADU applications in 2018. 25 in 2019, and it skyrocketed to 44 in 2020, and we have seen an increase throughout the years. That concludes staff's presentation. Staff's available for any questions you guys may have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Campana. Will you please circulate the information to all the commissioners via email?
Yes.
Thank you. There may be some questions. Members, do you have questions? Anyone?
Do we know what that increase has been for 2021? Are we kind of backing into it from an environmental perspective of what's happening? You said that 2021 there was an increase.
It was actually 2020, Commissioner.
Oh, it's 20. That's what I meant, 2020. Sorry, I'm trying to get away from 2020.
That's okay. We're all trying to put it behind us. Perhaps there were a lot of changes in ADU laws since the ADU laws went into effect, including in 2020, there were additional changes that provided even greater flexibility. As the years go by since the enactment of the laws, residents have been given more and more flexibility. So that could be one of the reasons why it just got a lot easier, and it continues to get a lot easier for a resident to convert their existing garage, to create these smaller spaces through the JADUs, as well as, you know, standalone ADUs. It's getting a lot simpler for them.
So I guess the good thing is, based on the data, that our residents are taking advantage of something great that our city's offering. That, you know, being able to make those conversions. Okay, I'm curious. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? So do we know on the statistical information you gave us relative to permits, those are actually constructed, those ADUs so those are closed permits? The 44 and the 25 and all that?
Yeah, so the graph showed you what we had for entitlements, so planning. I don't have the number for building permits that were issued, but we do see them on a regular basis that they are getting submitted to building and safety. So I would assume that they're very similar in numbers.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know if what types of ADUs, were they all garage conversions, the third bay typically? And I didn't pick up the condition of 150 square feet, and I'm not sure how that applies.
So for an existing space like a garage or a guest unit in back, it can expand up to 150 feet because if it's an existing conversion, then it doesn't have to meet the setbacks. It can just rely on the setbacks that are there already.
So are you saying a third, for instance, a second, a garage conversion cannot exceed 150 square feet?
No, it can. So it's the existing space and it can expand 150 square feet.
No, okay. Doesn't have to have a separate entrance then, or does it?
A separate entrance? I believe it does.
Interesting. So if your neighbor decides to convert the third bay and doesn't get a permit, which can often happen, then that impacts the future, typically the future financing of a property when you resell it, becomes a challenge. I don't know how we get that word out to the community. I have a recent experience with someone in my neighborhood that did that. And not that I'm opposed to it by any means. I mean, I think it's a good thing for people to consider doing, particularly as family members age and that sort of thing, or even as rental income. So anyway, but it'd be interesting to hear what kind of permits have been issued in the actual compared to the applications.
We could provide that data.
The going back to the apartment issues in the parking reduction, which if I recall correctly, I think that matches what we have already, doesn't it, on senior apartments?
Are you talking about the density bonus, how it was reduced to 1.5 parking spaces? Currently, our code is 2 spaces per, if it's 2 to 3 bedrooms, or if it's 2 bedrooms and more.
Okay. Since we'll be talking about the environmental impact report later relative to the hospital development, I should say the, what do they call it? There we go. Lancaster Health District Master Plan is previously known as Medical Main Street. There's a substantial amount of multifamily housing proposed in the general, or the master plan for that project, as well as addressed in the environmental impact report. So with these new legislation, will that then potentially increase the yield on an approved project? So, for instance, if we approve a master plan for 1,600 units, which I believe this is the number in the 3 phases, will these new legislative actions have an impact on that at all? I don't expect an answer now. I'm just posing the question that it may be something we'd want to look at, and I don't know how it affects the EIR or if at all. So anyway. All right, any other questions from anyone? Comments? All right then, thank you, Ms. Campana.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take up now the, wait a minute, I should ask now, I'm sorry. Did we have any email comments on this item, or do we have any public comments on this item, on the housing bills or ADUs, Ms. Winter?
We do not have any emailed comments.
Okay. Public comments?
At this time, the public phone lines are now open for those wishing to speak on the commission update for the housing bills and ADU state requirements. Any callers wishing to speak, please press *6 now, state your name, and then wait until you are called upon. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. It does not appear that we have any speakers.
All right, thank you. All right, then we'll move on then to Lancaster Health District Draft EIR. Ms. Swain is presenting on this item.
Chairman Vos and members of the commission, the draft EIR for the Lancaster Health District was released for its 45-day public review and comment period on December 21st, and the comment period ends on February 3rd. This is for a master plan development centered around the hospital, which will include a mix of residential units, commercial, medical office, and a new hospital. It also allows for retail and restaurant uses. The only specific project proposed within this master plan at this time is the new hospital. This is an opportunity for members of the public to provide oral comments on the draft EIR at the Planning Commission meeting. No action is being taken tonight by the Planning Commission. And at your February Planning Commission, I will be providing an overview of the master plan itself. And then it is anticipated that this project will come back to you in March. If you have any questions or comments, now would be the time to voice them.
All right, we'll ask for any email comments, Ms. Winter, or public comments via phone.
We do not have any emailed comments at this time. The public phone lines are now open for those wishing to speak on the commission update for the Lancaster Health District Draft EIR. Any callers wishing to speak, please press *6 now, state your name, and then wait until you are called upon. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. And it does not appear that we have any callers.
All right, thank you. Members, you may have comments or questions. Go right ahead, whomever may have them. I'm surprised that none of you read the 692 pages of this draft environmental impact report.
I actually read it twice.
Well, you have a little bit of time. The item is tentatively scheduled to be before the commission in March. So you don't have to have read it entirely right now, but at least skim through it at this point.
Yeah, and I will be giving you an overview and highlights of it at your February meeting.
I did read the executive summary and reviewed a number of the exhibits. I do have a couple of comments, Ms. Swain, just to make sure they're in the public record.
Okay.
I guess I was a bit confused on the development standards, or as they call it, development or redevelopment, as it relates to demolition and reconstruction. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, where the requirements of the master plan get triggered if you're demolishing or adding to a building by 50%?
Yes.
Okay. And that actually is pretty common in our existing code too.
No, I understand that. Yeah, I just want to make sure how is that addressed in the environmental document, or is it?
So the environmental document looks at the impacts of developing the proposed overall envelope. So, the maximum amount of development proposed, it looks at the impacts associated with construction of that. And it looks at the demolition of the hospital in terms of the impacts. But most of the construction is assumed to go on the vacant parcels or be added to existing. So no real demolition was anticipated of the existing structures.
But it is possible. The environmental document gives the flexibility basically to allow.
It does.
Okay. In the mitigation measure AQ-2 talks about electric vehicle charging stations, a certain ratio.
That is correct. It also exists in the new Title 24.
Okay, so the proposed, the possible, I guess you would say, the proposed or possible 1,100 parking space multi-level garage.
Correct.
So if I read that right, I'm probably wrong, but the way I read it, it said there'd be 4 charging stations, anything over 201 parking spots, or is it 4 per 201?
I will have to double check.
Okay, that seemed not sufficient by any means.
I would agree with you.
Right, okay. It's in mitigation measure AQ-8, and that's probably Title 24 issues as it relates to the dry cleaning establishments. And it probably doesn't mean establishments, probably means the laundry or dry cleaning facilities associated with the hospital operation.
No, that actually refers to a dry cleaning facility that could go into any of the commercial developments that would be proposed within the master plan area. Any dry cleaner that uses PCE for their dry cleaning operations is required to do a health risk assessment and go through the air district.
So 500 feet from what?
From any sensitive receptor. And that's defined by the air district.
So then it would have to be a standalone operation 500 feet from anything.
No, the 500 feet refers to whether or not they have to do a health risk assessment.
Okay.
And
is that identified in the mitigation measure?
It is. And most dry cleaners do not utilize PCE anymore.
But they could.
They could. They have that option.
Right. I guess that when we're talking about the hazmat mitigations, the various ones, and the oversights, there's no mention of DTSC in the environmental document. Is that necessary or no? Division of Toxic Substances Control.
Right. So the Department of Toxic Substances Control, it is mentioned and it's discussed in the hazardous materials section as a regulatory entity. Most of the day-to-day hazardous materials issues like lead or asbestos don't go through DTSC. They have established protocols which are identified in the document. If there was a spill, most of the oversight is handled by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. However, DTSC has been provided a copy of this document.
Well, I noticed there was some comment regarding imported soil piles on some of the stuff on the east portion of the project.
Correct. So whenever somebody goes to develop that, they're going to have to be sampled.
Okay. That can come as a shock to some folks, cost-wise,
Mm-hmm.
as well as fill, as well as import of soil. Hospitals particularly are governed by different regulations than cities. They're very similar to schools, so it's pretty severe on oversight, which is important, certainly.
Correct. And OSHPD has a copy of the document for their review.
Right, okay. Yeah, and well, you also have oversight from the California Geological Survey as well. I mean, there's all sorts of oversight beyond what the city would typically require. In noise, item number 3, where it talks about the distance from sensitive receptors for various pieces of equipment, dozers at 50 feet, vibrators at 100, and so forth. In reality, those sensitive receptors, for instance, on the perimeter to the west and north and south of the existing site, as well as some of the vacant property, that kind of activity will take place on excavation and recompaction of soil. So I don't know if it's, I mean, it says you're unable to conduct that portion of activity within that parameter. I don't know how you develop the entire property. If you have to have a 100-foot setback from a vibrating roller, if you're doing over excavation and compaction, I don't know how you get there.
I can double check that, but it's a specific type of piece of equipment that generates a very large volume of vibration. So let me double check.
Yeah, it's standard stuff for dirt movers. I mean, it's very typical.
Okay.
And the traffic, I noticed in the traffic circulation elements, they talk about various reconfigurations of road right-of-ways and anticipated traffic flows and so forth, increases and that sort of thing. I noticed that there's a proposal to, under figure 3.0-5, to reconfigure low tree or configure low tree to make it a through thoroughfare into planning area 2.
Okay.
So basically low tree it's almost like a private park driveway now, serving those commercial buildings, office buildings and medical buildings and so forth that are in that complex adjacent to south side of J at Low Tree. So will there be ultimately a development requirement for a full traffic analysis, or will this environmental document be the guide?
So the traffic layout shown in that figure is what is proposed, and the city is authorized under a grant from Metro. The traffic report encompasses the safety and operational aspects of those roadways being put in, but it doesn't look at any other roadways being constructed. They would have to fit within the parameters of the traffic report. One thing to keep in mind is that LOS is no longer the measure of impacts. It's all VMT. So we can have, when a development project comes in, we can actually have an operational traffic report done to make sure that it's going to operate safely, which has nothing to do with the environmental review.
And just to add, Chairman Vos, as Jocelyn mentioned, the circulation plan is pretty cooked at this point, given that we're tied to a Metro grant that will be basically covering the entire cost of the installation of the infrastructure and so on and so forth. So it is pretty done, and the way that it's laid out, there's no real option to move it at all at this point. The alignment is the way that it is per Metro standards, and we can't deviate from it or we'll lose our grant money.
I guess I'm concerned about low treated, but more importantly, more concerned about east and westbound J8 from 15th to 10th. And,
Sure.
And the proposed increase in traffic from roughly 6,000 to well over 10,000 vehicles a day. That's a huge increase on a very narrow neighborhood street. Notwithstanding the public school on also in that traffic pattern. So
Okay.
what's the plan on additional right-of-way acquisition, no parking? I mean, is any discussion of that taking place?
Those finite details have not been talked about right now. The goal is to design the master plan and get it moving. There is a phase 2 that will come. I would ask that we appreciate the feedback at this moment. The goal for the item tonight was to get public input. We can continue to have these conversations. Again, you'll have another opportunity in February where we can have Matt Simons, our traffic engineer as well, and our capital engineering manager, where these questions can be answered. They are pretty specific and we don't have those answers at this moment.
That's why I wanted to get on the record before the comment period closes.
Understood. But as a commission, you still have the right to address these comments, even, while and after as part of the master plan itself.
Well, the ultimate process is we will consider an approval of it, recommendation to the city council, right?
Correct.
At any rate, I noticed on one of the exhibits, and I guess maybe it was where it shows the overlays of the existing facilities and then the various proposed developments within the various phases. I noticed this on the exhibit that indicates the existing facilities. I noticed the City of Hope building didn't appear to me to be identified as an existing building. It was in a shaded area, and I don't, maybe it was just an error when they prepared that exhibit. Might take a look at that.
Got it.
And when will we be looking at the master plan then? The actual master plan for consideration and recommendation.
You'll receive an overview in February. You'll have an opportunity to view it then, as well as the March meeting is when we anticipate bringing the item for actual action.
For March?
Correct.
Okay. All right, very good. That's all I had for the moment. Anyone else care to make comments on anything? Ms. Swain?
No, I'm just here to listen at the moment.
Very good, thank you. All right. Ms. Winter? Any comments from anyone? Emails? Anything?
No comments and no emails.
All right, good. Then we're finished with this item and we'll say adios to Vice Chair Smith.
Yes, goodbye. Yes, I have to recuse myself because my employer, Destination Lancaster, is funded by the Lancaster hotels, of which this hotel will be one of our partners once they open. So good night and have fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, then we still have a quorum. Ms. Winter, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. All right, our action item tonight is conditional use permit 20-10. We have received an uncontested letter on this item. This is a new public hearing, and so without objection, the public hearing is open. Do we have any email comments on this item, Ms. Winter?
We do not have any emailed comments.
All right, do we have any phone calls?
At this time, the public phone lines are now open for those wishing to speak on conditional use permit 20-10. Any callers wishing to speak, please press *6 now, state your name, and then wait until you are called upon. It does not appear that we have any callers.
All right, very good. We received the staff report on this, written staff report, and the environmental documents and all the rest of it. Does anyone care to hear a brief staff report on this item? If you do, say yes. Everybody's shaking their head no then. So without objection, the public hearing is closed, and I'll consider a motion.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
I'm good. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-01 approving the conditional use permit number 20-10 to allow the Alcohol Beverage Control ABC Type 70 license to allow beer, wine, and distilled spirits on the on-site consumption of the resident inn hotel located at 847 West Lancaster Boulevard, APN 3133-003-038.
Thank you.
I'll make a second.
Thank you. All right, anything further from anyone? It's clear that this is an application for on-site consumption of hotel guests and their guests, not the general public. Okay. So, would you call a roll, please, Ms. Winter?
Commissioner Tufts,
Yes.
Commissioner Paris,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
and Chairman Bose.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 with 1 recused.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our action items for this evening. Ms. De La Cruz, do you have comments to share?
You're muted, Larissa.
I already told you all. You didn't hear me. Just a quick reminder, just to circle back on the master plan item we just heard. The link to the master plan itself was actually provided before Christmas. So you do have the master plan that's available for review. We also, Danielle had sent out an email asking if anybody wanted a printed copy. We could provide that as well. It's a huge, huge document that may not be the easiest to read online. So we will offer it to you if you want it printed. Just let us know, let Danielle know, and we can take care of that for you. And other than that, we're still moving forward with our efforts for our housing element update. We have our consultants plugging away with that. The next meeting workshop is the date is being secured. Once we have that date, we will share it with you as well. And that is all I have for this evening.
All right, very good. Yeah, the way it's loaded on the city website, you have to download each individual element of either the environmental document or the master plan. It's not one download. It takes a little time to get it all downloaded, but whatever. It all works. Okay. So it's likely that we'll have a February meeting, Ms. De La Cruz?
Yes, it will. So far, the only item on that agenda is the preview of the health district plan. We anticipate that our engineering colleagues and staff will be participating. So if you do have questions that are very specific, I would ask for you to bring those up, start taking a look at the master plan and the environmental document if you haven't already done so. At least you could begin that process and bring questions that you may have. If not, you will also have another opportunity in March. So, but the agendas are light at this moment. So for the next 2 months, they are still light. We do have meetings, but so far there's very few items on those agendas.
All right. Well, it's certainly plenty of reading material, that's for sure. We appreciate all that. Thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
So we'll adjourn to our meeting of February 8th at 4:30 p.m. And just as a reminder, the regular meeting would be February 22nd, right?
That is.
It's the first and third Mondays, right?
That is correct. In the event that our agenda remains light, we will do what we did this month and cancel one of those meetings and only hold one meeting.
That's fine.
We'll confirm it in the next week or so.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, we're done.
Good night.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Nice to see you.
I would like to congratulate Commissioner Cook on her beautiful fiddle leaf. That has to have grown 2 feet
Oh, wow.
since we've last been here. So can you teach me how to do that?
I just water it when it's dry, and I need to restake it because now it's going, as you can see, it's bending. So I've got to put another stake in it, and I have another one going in the living room that's just starting out. So
I've lost so many leaves. You've got 2 feet.
you know, they say that they're very particular to their environment, and that once you put them in an environment, they don't like to be moved to another spot. So I think that's.
I almost bought one. I'm glad I didn't. Thank you for sharing
I
that.
was going to suggest.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Oh, they're amazing, but yours is just,
Crazy.
I'm so jealous. At least 2 feet. It's at least 2 feet, guys.
Yeah.
I've been watching, trust me.
Well, we have 8 or 9 foot ceilings, and if I restake it, it's going to be at the top, so I got to trim it.
You better make sure you have double locks on your doors.
Exactly.
All righty.
Well, she just said if you move it, it's done. Can't move it.
Yeah.
Well, that's an old wives' tale. It's not true.
It might not be. That's just what I read.
Sounded a little sexist there.
But
Okay, I think we should adjourn now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Die if I touch them.